Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new
Hello.
episode of Let's Talk About It. Hi, Jaleh and Nirok. How are you?
Hi, Jamal.
And Hassan Abdullah, the man behind Arabic translated memes, will be with us soon, as soon as possible. He's a
Perfect.
little bit late. Yes, and today we will talk about two topics. One of them we can start before Hassan come. This is the event in Denmark.
Yeah, let's talk
Which
about that one.
one of the organizer is Jaleh. You are,
Yeah.
and I'm invited there too. I will be happy to see you soon.
Yeah, I look
Unfortunately, Nirok
forward
is
to
not
it.
with us in Denmark, but another time,
Yeah.
maybe Nirok.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
prefer to be just on the videos and chatting. I
Good.
don't want to travel if I don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jale, let's our viewers know what's happening in Denmark next week and which city, and this is the program you have. It is
Yes.
incredible. Many
Yes.
debates, many meetings.
Yes. Many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, this festival, it's kind of a festival, political festival started in Denmark, and some politicians decided to do this, and they decided to put it on Bornholm, which is an island away from everything else in Denmark. It's actually pretty far from Denmark, so therefore, when you go there, you cannot just come home. You have to spend time with other people and talk politics more days than just one. You know, if it was somewhere in Denmark, you would just go for one meeting and come back, and it wouldn't be a festival. So this is a festival, so it's kind of expensive because it's a little island. So when people just to get a place to stay, it's become a little expensive for ordinary people. But and also they have they charge us for the tents and so on. So it's not it's kind of an elitist thing, but I like politics, and I like going, and I have gone for many years, and I have always been so mad at the politicians and different organizations, because it very quickly becomes a very political correct place to be. So a lot of the topics that I want to discuss are very sugar coated and very, it's just very woke, and nobody likes to talk critical about Islam, integration, immigration, all of these sorts of subjects that I like to discuss.
All the
So
hot topics you have, like even
yes,
the churn sex and Me
exactly.
Too,
So
right?
so I thought maybe I should ally myself with other people who are kind of problematic or controversial. So
When you
actually,
when you say it like that, I really want to go now. Now I want to go.
you should come. But
Yeah.
then actually then the Free Press Society, which is a free speech organization, I asked them, and they were a little hesitant because they were like, maybe we cannot fill out a whole program. I said, no, don't worry, I will fill it out for you.
And you
So
did well.
yeah, and they joined another organization which works for equality. They came, and a men's organization who are working with men's rights, right? That is also kind of controversial to talk about, that in some ways men need help in these times, right? When they're, for instance, about gender issues and so on. And then actually another totally new organization is going to come out of this program as well, kind of. And this is an organization, an alternative organization for LGBTQ. Um, Not Q, maybe, because they're kind of there's a trans person who is conservative, and who is very he's very you know he's very insightful,
Yeah.
and he also he's also critical of the way that we are talking about having children transition, and he's so we are having this these LGBT people and free society people, free press society people, and equality and men's rights. So we are just a mix of very interesting people coming together.
I'm looking forward to be there, and I just want to. I'm sorry for interruption.
No.
Rahul Kushwaha asking what are you talking about? Because I think many people waiting us to talk about the comments about Mohammed in India. So I just want to say we have two topics. We will just talk about a little bit about the event in Denmark. This is in Bornholm, right? This is the island.
It doesn't need to be longer than this. It's just
yes.
It's a political
and everybody welcome.
festival. Yeah.
And now I see Hassan is here too. Hi, Hassan.
Hi.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Are you able to hear me all right? Excellent.
Yes, we can hear you.
That sounds like a very interesting event. I'd love to visit. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to be there. But we want to be talking about Islam for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
This is our experience. Thank you, Jamil, for inviting me again.
You are all time welcome. You are the one of our hosts too from now.
Yes.
So let's do it because it's much better. And let me just share. Yes, everyone. What's happened in India in the last week? One politician, woman politician, said something on TV in a debate, and in this debate, actually, the topic was mockery of religion. Actually, the topic was how Muslims insulting the Indian gods, the gods of or the holy sites of Hindu religion. And in this debate, the woman said something. I don't want to say what she said right now because we will talk about that. But the interesting thing is when I search what, let me share it just. Stop screening, share it. Oh my God, there is, yes. When I search on Google before we start this streaming, what really said Nupur Sharma on TV? It is so very difficult to find out. Looks
Yes.
like what's happening after she said something on TV. Now Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, United Arab Emirates, and many other countries joining, like Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Iran, and Oman, to condemning controversial remarks, comments on prophets. They write BBC some places, and others say some insults against Muhammad. So, and I have seen the meme which Hassan Abdullah did just 2 days ago.
Yes.
Hassan, you can start to talk, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I will show the memes too.
Okay. I mean, so this is very typical of what happened with blasphemy and when people get angry without actually seeing or finding what was said. So when so this meme, I don't think you can see it very well on the screen, but it's just showing that this is not the first time this has happened. We've had this similar situation with the USA, UK, France, Denmark, Holland, and Canada, and even other countries as well. And this goes back to the from the 1980s onwards. I put the slides to go to kind of like just go through them, and you're gonna see a trend that always happens. So you know why you can't find what she said. News media are too worried to report it in case it offends people. But what I've seen on multiple channels, and including a reliable one, I would say Haris Sultan is not gonna lie because he's Urdu and he knows what she said. And what's been reported is that she just reported two facts, but in an angry way. So the debate was about a temple, a mosque built over a temple and the other panelist in the discussion kind of mocked the idea that there was ever a temple there. And when she pointed to a symbol in the temple, he said, "Oh, this is just a fountain of water, nothing serious." But for her religion, she's a Hindu, this is actually a very, very important sacred thing. So she got angry and she started saying, "Well, how dare you mock my religion? This is a very important fountain for us. What about your prophet who did this and did that and that?" And the two things that were reported was that she said to him, "What about your prophet who took a donkey, a flying donkey, to the seventh heaven?
Right.
And what about your prophet who married a child?"
Yeah.
And that's all.
That's all. Yes.
So
I have seen this.
exactly.
So it's not even
haven't-
blasphemy. It's not blasphemy even, right? It's
Well,
Everyone says that she was so very angry, but honestly, she seemed so upset. She seemed so very upset, and that comes out as anger sometimes. But she was feeling probably extremely insulted on behalf of the religion that she loves, and creating mosques over Hinduist holy sites, like the birthplace of Ram, for instance. Building the Badri Masjid over it. This is the kind of thing Muslims have been doing in India for a very long time on purpose, to undermine the Indian people, to undermine their beliefs, and to show off their own power.
I agree. I mean, it's part of the conquering. Jamil, maybe because you're already on my page, show something from this morning about the pyramids. If you have it in front of you,
I will.
Because that's another example of what happens when Islam expanded. It was part of the strategies to wipe away the previous culture, to bring about an Islamic stable culture. It was never about multiculturalism that we see in the West. It was all about re-establishing the new culture in the new place. So with the meme I had this morning posted, I thought it was appropriate for the occasion. I don't know.
And even them thinking about the multiculturalism, it's a problem, because not all cultures are good, and not all cultures are equally bad or good. There are differences between cultures, and by saying that you just want multiculturalism, it doesn't really make sense. It's just as if all cultures, suddenly everything is good enough, right?
Yeah, compatibility. I think what you mean is being whether they're compatible or not, having the similar values. But this thing, I've been to Egypt, and I actually stood in front of this pyramid and never realized that this big hole, what is the reason behind this big hole? So it was only when I was going through ex-Muslim Arabic pages that I understood it. So back in the year 1190, the Khalifa of Islam, Al-Aziz Uthman, who would have been the son of Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, who is a very, very famous Arab fighter, ordered the destruction of all the pyramids of Egypt, starting with the smallest one.
Yeah.
And if you look at lucky for all of us that 8 months into the process of destruction, they gave up. It was too hard to destroy the pyramids. And if you look at the bottom of the pyramid there, you see how the stones are smooth. All the pyramids were smooth rock, so they would shine in the sun. We lost that, by the way. You have another pyramid, the top is still there. And some of the other pyramids, the bottoms are still there because they were covered by sand. But in this case, you can see that hole. That was an attempt to destroy that pyramid completely. But they kind of gave up.
They could, man. No.
Yeah, because it's a symbol of paganism, and it was against the concept of Islam in a way. and this is normal practice, I would imagine. I wouldn't single out
They
Islam.
tried also in Iran. They tried to, decided that they wanted to destroy everything that came before them, like Taliban and Islamic State, right? Whenever
Yeah,
Islamists get power in these countries, in any countries, they want to destroy everything that came before them. And this
true.
is
In,
really
in,
the
in,
best reason why multiculturalism cannot coexist, because we have to we have to say, oh, we have Western culture in Western countries, and the Western culture gives us the freedom to evolve and to progress. We cannot, just say it's equal to other cultures. Everything is welcome, right? Then we're undermining ourselves.
Islam has destroyed many cultures, many languages and civilization in the history, and this we can see it even today. But when we talk like this, then they say you are a hater. But no, we have evidence. Iranian people were not Arab, but today they are almost Arab. Even their language is how they are writing Persian language, like Turkish people, Kurdish people,
Mm.
but even Syrian people, they were not Arab. And when we talk about the North Africa, uh, Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia, and all these countries, there is a Arabization, like Islamization. Islam destroying every civilization in the
True.
destroy it, and so sometimes when Muslims talk about the
Colonialization.
colonization and what England did and what West did, this is nothing compared to what really Islam did. Look at, for example, Pakistan.
Mm.
Which country Pakistan is actually? What is this Pakistan? This is
It's
India.
India.
This is Indian people, Pakistani people. When they became a Muslim,
Mhm.
identity is so strong and arrogant religion and dominant religion, they became like a nation, Islamic
Yeah.
nation. And this is the
Yep.
Islamization, the Islamic culture, Islamic brotherhood. And this make now they became a biggest enemy, the same people.
Mm.
And
when they
let's
first
go
when
back
they
to
first came to India, they burned down a lot of mosques. Now, I mean, they burned down a lot of temples. They burned down a lot of libraries, and they have this sense of being superior. If you deny the superiority, then they call you a blaspheme, and we all know what that's like. And they have never stopped. Right
Mm.
now, the reason because India is apologizing is economy, because
Yes.
Islam is too strong.
Yep.
Just
yeah,
like Israel, India is unique. it's
Yep.
it's just one country that is the home of the Hindus, just like Israel is only the one country that is the home of the Jewish people. And Islam is just not gonna tolerate that. They're gonna find one reason or another to do this, to show their power, to oppress. And this is
I, I
oppression.
I think we will see more about. I haven't seen the slides of Hassan, but when Hassan shows us his slide, blasphemy in
Mhm.
Islam's recent history, I think we will see a lot of these things, example of these things you are
Yes.
saying, New
I'm
But
just gonna mention this pyramid. It's
yeah,
like ISIS. What they did to all the Sumerian cultural remains, all the buildings and all the stone pictures. They did tear it all down because
Yes.
it's non-Islamic. So
Yep.
yes,
it's 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 a cultural practice, but it's a religious practice to remove everything that is not Islamic.
yes, and let's just go back to Nupur Sharma's behind offensive Prophet Muhammad comments. What
Mhm.
really she said? She said, like Hassan said, she pointed the age of Aisha, the marriage of Muhammad's marriage with child, and this is in
Yes.
the all Islamic sources I have here. I can show
But
it.
yeah,
Uh,
it's not even blasphemy. It's not even. It's
yes,
just it's just because she doesn't like a certain religion, and this comes through her comments. People now, Islamists know, oh, you don't like Islam. Oh no, that's the problem, right? It's not even, she's just stating facts. Facts, right? It's not
Well,
even.
yeah, I could add to that. I came across a definition of Islamophobia by one of the organizations operating in the UK, and they defined it as a person who has a dislike to Islam and Muslim people. And I felt that's really, really, really
It's
stupid
broad.
definition,
Yeah.
because I could understand against Muslim people, because you should never generalize. You should not attack a whole group of people. You can't do that. But to say any person who dislike Islam, you've just labeled every Christian who doesn't believe in Islam, or any Jew or Hindu or atheist who have reasons, as suddenly Islamophobic. So that's a very, very bad definition. So
Of
yes,
course, yeah. Of course,
yeah,
disliking Muslims, it's not a good thing to do, but having criticism,
mm,
when it comes to Muslims as a group, I think
mm,
it's not even that. That's not even racism, because you can criticize a group of people and say, now I'll say something very controversial, but like Afro Americans in the U.S., there tends to be a lot of crime and violence within that group of people, and
mm,
maybe something cultural needs to change within that people, because a lot of homicide, a lot of violent crimes is going on within that
hi,
community,
yeah,
right? This is a
it's
very
about income.
controversial statement, if
Mm,
even as I'm saying it, but it's none of the less is a true statement, and it's not racism. It has to do with, because we are also not only should we be allowed to criticize Islam, we should also be allowed to criticize cultures, right? Even Muslim culture we should be able to
yeah.
criticize without being called Islamophobes or racist or anything like that, because it's not
Well,
racism.
So excuse me, so this is so important, that so we have to not let any either Muslims or regressive leftists in the West especially using the victim mentality of Islam to increase freedom of speech. And this very dangerous thing, and I'm experiencing this, because like they come with, like, they are victim. Oh, there are hatred. Look at exactly Ayd Truman. This is what which we are looking for answer. He says,
Yeah.
he asks, why are Muslims offended by the facts about Momo?
Yeah.
Like we see on the screen, there is a lot of hadiths we have showing us that Aisha says self that she was 6 years old when Muhammad married with her. And
Yeah.
when she was 9 years old, he consummated religion, like he had sex. But like the last time when we had the conversation with Hassan mentioned it. Actually, in the Arabic literature, there is more information than what we are seeing in English
Yep.
sources, and
Of course.
this is
Yeah.
not mean that when she was even 6 years old, this is not mean that Muhammad never touched her, didn't
Yes.
did
Yes.
something. Hassan, you can talk.
Yes, I mean, okay, so the thing about her age, there's absolutely no dispute in the hadith. So, be that from Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, and other sources, I've collated 14 different sources that confirms Aisha's age as 6. There's one or two that say she could have been turning 7 when she got married, but they all agree 100% that he consummated that marriage, meaning he had sex with her when she was 9. And she narrates that as well.
And sex, you
Later.
mean intercourse, right? He
Intercourse,
had
yeah.
yeah, he had intercourse with her when she was 9, but
Yeah.
most probably he had other sexual
Yes.
acts with
Yeah.
her before that she was
And
Yeah.
there
at
is
the age of
reference,
9.
there is reference to that too.
There's reference to that. So with all the translations now, you don't find it, but it was in pre-1960s hadith, and it was reconfirmed in Iran by Ayatollah
Khomeini.
Khomeini,
Yeah.
that there's something called tafkhid. Tafkhid, the Arabic translation for
It's
tafkhid is
thawing,
between
right?
the thighs. Yeah, between
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thighs. It just says between the thighs. So you get the image there. Is that it's not. It recommends no penetration because you could damage. That word is damage the child. So it is. I mean, I find it really hard
Yeah.
to describe, but you know, it
Yeah.
is
Can I say something?
sexual abuse.
My I wrote about this in my book, Public Secrets about Islam, Public Secrets of Islam, I think it's called in English. And I wrote about this whole thing about thawing, about Khomeini, but also other other theologues who have come to the same conclusion, who have who have gone back to the sources, hadith and so on, both Turkish and also Arabic and Farsi with Khomeini, as well as Arabic with Khomeini, right? So I
Yeah,
have these things, and no one was going to take me seriously because within a frame that is a Western civilized conversation about religion, people
mhm.
just get numb when you say things like that. They can't even, they don't even know how to, you know, understand.
React.
Their mind cannot understand what you're saying, and
Well,
then therefore you become the liar, you become the extremist, even
yeah.
trying to point these things out. And I've done it so many times that I'm and then I go forth and back and forth with myself. Do you tell the whole truth, or do you tell the half truth about, because everybody thinks it's sick
Crazy.
even
Yeah,
to
yeah.
have sex with a 9-year-old, right? So maybe
Well,
we should just say that, because but then we are not telling the whole truth, then we are not honest about the whole truth.
David Wood made a video about this a few years ago, in which Pakistan was trying to censor his videos because he was revealing embarrassing truths about Muhammad that Muslims don't even know, because
Yeah.
yes.
they are never public. They are written in the text, but people don't talk about them because they are that disturbing.
Well,
A lot of
it's
Muslims
true.
are just very happy with knowing that they are superior. It's so much power in just knowing that you are superior. And when they are brought this information that has to make them like lose their superiority, they don't want to listen. They get angry, and they
Well,
think that they have the right to, you know,
I
cause.
can give you an example of it just from 2 days ago. So this page on Instagram contacted me, and it's a page set up to fight Islamophobia. I think she's a lady. And briefly, her title is "The Muslims of America" or something along these lines,
So she
or American
contacted
Muslim.
you?
She contacted me trying to say that I'm an Islamophobe, blah 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 blah. And then I pointed, and she said, "What is your issue?" And I, as an ex-Muslim, and I said, "Well, let's start with Aisha." And she said, "What's the problem with Aisha?" It was back and forth for a day, where she insisted that Aisha was never 9, was never 6. And I would put hadith after hadith with circling that they're authentic, giving her the sources. And then at the end, she just went quiet. And this is a
Yeah.
page set up to fight Islam. The point is that she did not know. She
Yeah.
denied it.
I
So,
know.
you know,
And
if
this is
this is a
very
page,
shocking. This is very shocking
yeah,
to us.
yeah,
Every time it's a lot of Muslims, even the Islamists, even
mm,
the activists within the Muslim community, even the Islamists, they don't know what they're fighting for, right? They're fighting for the religion. They're very proud. I had another discussion with, before ISIS became huge, a lot of ISIS kind of people were like mobilizing in Denmark, and they had a demonstration against something France had banned scarves in schools or something. They were demonstrating, and then a journalist asked me to go there and talked with them, and I said to these women, there were women, and I was supposed to kind of interview them, but like more in a activist way or something like that. So he just gave me the microphone. He just wanted, us fighting. I think the journalist. So I asked these niqabi women. Yeah, I said, how if I was born into a Muslim family and I'm not a Muslim, so you probably see me as an ex-Muslim and then a murtad, and a murtad is supposed to be killed in your religion,
Yes.
and they didn't know. So they were saying no, 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 and then when they went home, I could see on the internet they were, discussing this issue online, and one of them says, "Our former sister is right."
That's a good one. No, but it is true. I didn't know. I didn't know Aisha's age until 28, 29 years old. So we are being hidden. I didn't know anything about slavery in Islam until I was
You
much.
are not alone. You are not alone.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
Me too.
so but I thought in the days of the internet that if you've already set up a page to fight Islamophobia, you have about 500 people following you. You would have heard about Aisha's age before you talked to me,
Yeah.
and then look completely shocked and lost and have no source to back you. It goes to show why people get offended by the comments, because the majority actually don't know. And you know what? This is part of the slide I'm going to talk. This is actually really good. I'm actually excited, but
Yeah.
I'm angry. I'm frustrated, not angry, that they're not talking about what she said, because that's the point that would really bring in the message. And the hopefully the Indian media are not censoring themselves the way the Western media is doing it, because actually these facts need to come out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is
Exactly,
the only
yeah.
solution. And it's the only way, the common sense. I understand many Muslims.
The thing is, honestly, because the way she spoke, she said that, and what about you? That's what she said.
Yes.
You are no better. That's what she said.
Yep.
Because and these were the examples she could bring out to sort of make a point in that Islam isn't any better than any other religion, and that's what they don't want to support, and they are punishing
lucky.
India economically.
But it's not going to have a big effect. That's my view, and
Yeah.
I wrote that on my page. See, with France and USA, they promised the UK that they're going to boycott the products from France. They're all over the Middle East. The cheese, the wine, everything. They say these
wine.
things. They can't. Yes,
Excuse me, I have to say, Hassan,
so funny.
how much I love it when I read you write that until next time, happy pointless angry protest circus day.
They go down.
Best explanation.
So I wrote there that they go down with painted flag because they don't have money to even buy the real flags, and then they burn them, and then they shout Allahu Akbar all the way, and then they go home and say, Allah's gonna give me all the versions in the future, and happy pointless circus day. And so I mean, it is a circus, because they go back to supporting the football teams in France and UK, and they buy American cars, and they can't, because we depend in the Middle East and in all the in many Islamic countries, we depend on all our imports. So India is actually harder to boycott, because India doesn't send luxury products that you can live without. At the moment, with the war in Ukraine, who can find wheat? Who can find rice? Who can find oil?
Spices and fabric.
Spices. How the Middle Eastern people are going to live without their spices? Yeah. So it's just a no-go. If I was the Prime Minister of India, I will put a boycott on the products, and you'll see who's going to come begging who for their produce, because India can sell their rice to anyone at the moment. The world is on shortage of food, and wheat. After what's happened in Ukraine, they will be kissing India's feet for their wheat, because there's no wheat. So I don't know what's the whole. I mean, I know maybe unemployment, but if they try to hurt India on employment, most of the people that come to work in the Gulf are Muslim Indians, so they'll be hurting themselves.
Right.
And
So I
also,
feel
maybe
that they,
in India, people are also afraid of terrorism because, there has been a huge problem with Islamic terrorism within India. Maybe they are, the Western mindset is that at least even the police, the intelligence community in, the FBI's
yeah,
of the Western world,
mm,
they are kind of, not in the US, I think, but in Europe at least, they have worked together with, the political Islamists, not the violent ones,
yeah, yeah,
not the Salafi, not the, the extreme like Osama bin Laden kind of people.
mm,
Even them, they have tried to talk with and work with. But the understanding of many of that kind of group of people who decide what to, they're the ones telling the politicians what to do in these countries, in Western countries. And I know for a fact that in Denmark, the parliament was discussing, within themselves, the politicians were discussing, should we ban the circumcision of boys, right before they're adults, and
yeah,
the police in Denmark, the secret police, was saying, no, if we do that, the threat of violence from Islamists will increase. If And
mm,
this is not the only topic. There has been a lot of topics where the secret police in Denmark has gone in and said, you have to know that if you do this, then we will have, for instance, the blasphemy law in Denmark was annulled, right? So they said the same thing. So if we allow people to burn the Quran, we will be more vulnerable to, when it comes to Islamic terrorism. So if India goes and has the same mindset, then
mm.
maybe they will, but it's not the way to go. You have to fight these kind of,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
you
agree.
have to say, no, we will not be afraid of terrorism,
Fully,
because,
fully.
yeah, yeah,
I think I do believe that it's step by step. You can't push it too far, and we are moving in the right direction. And if you think of 40 years ago and now how things have moved, we dipped at some point, but now we're picking up again thanks to the internet. And I think that's really the focus of my talk today. If you don't mind, Jamil, if you put the slides, and we'll. It's not like last time. We will talk. Please feel free to interrupt and tell me your views. So
But I think it is better if we not interrupt, because later it will be very easy for me to just edit
this part.
this part and publish separately too.
of course.
Okay,
What
maybe
you
a
think
little
about?
bit. A little bit. It'll be
Okay,
nice
we
to have
make
a little bit of
not too much
discussion.
interruption, but little bit.
Yeah.
But before that, before just you go, this was very good. Id Truman writing there. I once asked a Muslim taxi driver, "What would you do? What would you like to own as a result of war booty? That what your right hand process." He had no idea and said that is nothing to do with Islam. This is the problem,
Exactly.
exactly. When we say child sex with the child, your prophet did. No, this is not Islam, and they have to just do every gymnastic to find something will prove it otherwise. And a
Yes.
flying donkey. This was also one of the statement of this woman in India, and this is reality. But when we talk with Muslims and say, what do you think? Do you believe flying donkey or mule or something like this? And they say this is not in Quran, but there is a verse. I will show this to after you finish. And there is a lot of hadith describing exactly everything, how this animal look like, and
Yeah.
how Muhammad fly it with this animal to heaven, and first heaven, second heaven, seventh heaven, and what's happened? It's very funny story.
I-
Inside
I'll
the
save
Quran.
you. I'll save you time because it's actually on my slides as well. So
Oh, very good. Okay.
okay,
Then
Can I
okay,
have
good.
a comment
then let's go.
about? Can I just mention to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Truman? It's the taxi driver is probably lying, because there are certain things that they are in denial about, like Aisha's age. Some know it, some don't know it. But
And they're also told to
the
lie.
bounty of war, it's one of those weekly prayers information,
But
and
my own experience says, in fact, that actually most of the Muslims are ignorant and they don't know. Yes, they can lie too,
Yeah.
Yes.
but
And
so
it is
they
a
need to learn.
strategy to lie also. It is.
Truth will set Muslims free, and this is what we are doing, and what Hassan Abdullah is doing. Okay,
Yes.
let's go, Hassan, please.
Okay, yeah. So, blasphemy in Islam, recent history, and the fact Muslims do not know their own religion. That's really the summary I get from it. So, let's get started. So, I start with the case of Salman Rushdie, who published a book in 1988 called The Satanic Verses. And I give you some perspective from my point of view. So, I heard about it. I was a young teenager, and we heard. I've never heard in my life about satanic verses. That we were never explained what is happening in there. So we all I thought is someone, because you don't get the information, the same experience we're having now with the incident in India. You have to fill up the gaps with your own imagination. So me, and many people around me my age assumed that the satanic verses is about someone creating verses about the shaitan, in the concept of shaitan. And this person is called Salman Rushdie. So that's the impression we got. But what is it really about? The book spoke about, and I put in bracket, a disputed reference in Islamic literature. It's not really disputed, but that's what is written online about it. And that Muhammad received satanic verses by mistake, claiming that Allah has three daughters, and these three daughters were the Arabian pagan goddesses. Okay, so, and that these verses made their way into the Quran in that concept. So when you go to look into it, actually the verses are still there. So the verses that names those three goddesses, supposedly the female goddesses of pagan Arabs, are Alat, Al-Uzza, and Manat. They're there. Open your Quran and read it. So, and the verse says, have you thought of Al-Alat, Al-Uzza, Al-Manat, the third, and the others? So the background story of it is that Muhammad was being pressed by the Meccan about the concept of Allah, and how could Allah exist on his own, and what's happened to their gods. And from which he said, oh no, they are also having some power and leverage with Allah. From which the next verse, and this is the one that got cancelled or removed, says, تلك الغرانيق العلا وإن شفاعاتهن لترتجى, which actually translate, they are exalted, whose intercessions is hoped for, which means they have they are highly regarded, and you can ask them to intermediate with Allah. So this was very problematic, and it was actually in the Quran. And this, the only dispute that is in the Islamic literature is how long was it there. So some people say it was only a few days. Other sources say it was there for nearly 15 years. So, and why was it suddenly removed? Because Muhammad was being pressed again and again, not now by the Meccan Qurayshi pagan, but he was pressed by the Christian and the Jews on the concept of, how do you say Allah is one and there's no other God, and yet in your Quran you mention those three goddesses and you give them power to be an intermediate with Allah. So when you see it in that context, Salman Rushdie wasn't inventing satanic verses. He wasn't making up lies. He was relying on Islamic sources to recreate the story and go further with his imagination. But the core part of the story was actually factual and still in the Quran for any of our viewers who would like to go and open it and see it. But what was the reaction that we got because of that? The most notable one is that there was a fatwa by Khomeini for him to be killed. I mean, to think it went to that extreme on a concept that's actually in the Quran. And I like the reaction that came from Salman Rushdie in one of the interviews, because I was reading about it today, that he said, I'm sure that Khomeini and the people around him did not buy the book or read the book to even realize that there is nothing as a real insult there or invention that he has made. And he apologized as well, which I don't think he should have, and he even said in one statement that he thought Muhammad was one of the most geniuses. He tried to calm the anger at the time, but still at the end of the day, it is what it is. But in hindsight, when you think about it, 1.2 billion people at the time, me guilty of it, prayed that Salman Rushdie would suffer and die and blah, blah, blah. Alas, nothing has happened. And the only person who has died since is the picture you see in front of you. So what about burning of the Quran? And this has become now the biggest topic of blasphemy and anger. So yes, we've seen many incidents of that. And for me, it follows the same concept as I see with Salman Rushdie. Why are we treating the burning of the Quran as something wrong or haram? Because actually, the Quran was burnt many times in the past. And in fact, our Islamic tradition shows that 20 years after Muhammad died, and we asked Zayd ibn Thabit to put the book together, Uthman ordered the burning of all the original transcript and copies of the Quran, because that was the right way of getting rid of old copies. You are not supposed to bury them in the ground because that's dirty. You're not supposed to throw them down the sewage. You're not supposed to throw them in the river. So the right way of doing it is to burn those copies, so that there's, because that was meant to be the cleanest way of doing it, okay? So any concept of anyone watching this that thinks, oh, burning of the Quran is haram, there's actually no record of that at all in the Islamic tradition. And if you look, this is a picture of the one of the few, not few, the only one we know, the transcript, the Birmingham transcript, is that this is the one that survived the burning. And if anyone thinks it's so bad that we're burning a copy probably printed in China or something, imagine that the copies that were held by your prophet, held and seen and touched, how holy is that? These were burned by Uthman, Khalifa Uthman, who we revere as an Islamic leader and scholar, and also ordered by Umar. It was not considered wrong to burn the Quran. You know what's considered wrong, really, and haram, is throwing the Quran down the sewage, as we saw in Saudi Arabia. What was the reaction to it? Nothing. Throwing the Quran down in garbage bins, like we've seen in Iran, or the destruction of Quran in mosques and stuff around Syria. Did we see any reaction to that? No. And it seems that people really do not understand their religion, to understand that what they're getting angry and worked out about is actually not really in Islam.
Even the majority of Muslims doesn't know this,
Yes, and that's the frustrating bit, to be honest. They're led like sheep by someone who's angry and doesn't know, and they all shout together without realizing, and I was one of them, not realizing, not having the access. I mean, I would have picked up a copy of the Satanic Verses and read it. My English was reasonably good at the time, and I would have realized that the sources were all Islamic. But to go also to the depiction of Muhammad, I grew up, and I'm sure everyone here agrees, believing that drawing the picture of Muhammad is haram, depicting any prophet is haram, and that we're not like the Christians, we're not like other people, we don't do that. But when researchers look into the history, Muslim sources were depicting Muhammad all the time in multiple books and multiple murals and multiple paintings by multiple cultures. It was never so much an issue until one point in history where people were not happy about his look. But to suggest that Muhammad himself said no, this is a very weak reference, and there's no strong reference to it. Okay, yes, he was not happy about how other religions do it, but it doesn't seem that it was such a big deal at the time. So to say now we're not allowed, I can understand only in the context that maybe it would be depicted wrong. So, for instance, I saw this multiple posts on social media and other platforms saying, "Oh, the Prophet is acknowledged in the High Court of the USA for being what do you call it, a source of knowledge in law and fairness." But you know what they never actually show when they make these posts, and I'm sure some people have seen it before, is that how is he acknowledged? There's a face mural carving of his face on the High Court, and it shows his face. So even at the time, and this is I'm speaking about 200 years ago, no one made an issue about showing Muhammad's face. It seems to be more and more recent events and changes in the way we see things that it's becoming more of an issue. And by the way, now you get some American parliamentarians, mostly Democrats, who are asking for this face to be wiped or removed. I mean, it's ridiculous. Personally, I find that just ridiculous. But all this talk about blasphemy, when you see what's happening now, did it actually stop depicting Muhammad in a cartoon or drawing? The answer is simply no. Any search on your search engine, on your phone, on your computers, everyone has phones. When they go and protest in front of schools, or when or in France when they killed that teacher for supposedly showing the picture, is so ridiculous, because all it does, it gets people open their phone and see what is the whole mess about, and they found loads of pictures. And if anything, it's making it worse, because more and more drawing and more funny depictions are being put about Muhammad in this way. And
even we got Drove Muhammad Day right now.
Yes. I mean, because of the reaction. So what happens is that every time they react badly, it actually backfires. And I'm going to show that in the very last bits of the slides, how everything they've done so far has not helped the situation at all. But then I almost feel like, don't think there's a lot they could do in the age of the internet. So I get to the last point, and this is the focus of today, which is, hopefully I'm pronouncing the name right, Nupur Sharma. So from what I understood is the two key things that she mentioned in anger, and this is, by the way, directly from that interview, is how dare you insult my religion, because at the end of the day, you, as you know, made up or, fantasy. What about your prophet taking a flying donkey and marrying a child of age 6? So let's see where they come from. So this, I know it's very hard to see on the screen, but it is on sunnah.com, and sunnah.com is the website that kind of shows everything. And so far they've been consistent, although they've been trying to hide a few things, but mostly consistent. And the story of the donkey it's an animal that looks between a donkey and a mule, which was flying. It's written there on sunnah.com. Now, you can't see it very well on the screen, but this comes from Sahih Muslim, and the number for anyone who would like to go and check it on sunnah.com is 164A. let me see. I'm sure I'm looking at my slides here to make sure I can see it very well. I think it's A. Yes, it is A. For anyone who has the book, it comes from Sahih Muslim, Book 1, Hadith 321. And also for the American English translation from the USC MCA, the reference is still Book 1, Hadith 314. So it's there, people. She did not invent this. She did not make it up. And this is only one instance of it. It appears in three other places in Sahih Bukhari and other sources. With regard to Aisha's age, I think this is the most settled hadith of all. It's so hard to dispute. Anyone who does not believe me, go now to sunnah.com and simply write two words, Aisha and the number 6. You will find 41 instances of this appearing, of which there's 14 sources, and the title of the book is the Book of Marriage. So it was trying to set the tone of marriage, yeah? And it's repeated in Sahih Muslim and Sahih Bukhari, although this is coming from, let me see, because I can't see it very often, Sunan and Nasai.
Nasai. Hassan, I just posted both of Aisha's age and Brak from sunnah.com on comment section. So no worries.
Yes, but what's more important with this hadith, and this one I'm highlighting more, is sahih, which means it's actually authentic and been checked, the multiple sources. The other thing it says, and you can see there, is Aisha says. So it's Aisha speaking, not someone else describing. Maybe they're confused. And she said, he married me when I was 6 and consummated the marriage when I was 9. And please read the next sentence. And I used to play with
dolls.
As if, like, don't even try. Don't even try to say I wasn't a child. Don't even try to invent anything. I was still playing with dolls. Like, it's because in Islam, it's haram to be an adult and play with dolls because these are seen as, idols. So you could only play with a doll if you're a child and he was having sex with her when she was there. That's why I was laughing. If I was instead of Nupur Sharma and said this, I think the world would have exploded because people don't actually know this.
Do you mean Aisha is liar? She should say this only.
No, of course she's not. But I'm just saying they would have been shocked. So when you look at how many times it's repeated multiple times. All you have to do, anyone here, go on sunnah.com. I'm going to write it in the comments after this, sunnah.com, and just simply put the two words Aisha and 6. You have to write S-I-X, yeah, not the number 6. And then you'll see how many times it appears. And they're all either sahih, which is very authentic, or Hassan, which is authentic, good considered. Yeah. So to say that she's actually lying or she's offensive, she's not. She's repeating what's written there in reaction. So the only bad thing I suppose she did was she said it in anger, and they're looking for any excuse. And now explains to you why there's actually no report of this in the Western media, because they just say, oh, she insulted her. What did she say? They don't say. And unfortunately, it goes back to the same problems I mentioned before when we had with Salman Rushdie, is that we didn't know what he was doing, and people were reacting out of anger without realizing the fact. Okay, so I get to what is the effects of protest. What we've seen so far from every incident that's happened is that they tend to be temporary. And here is why. We know that as much as they protested about drawing Muhammad, it's just continuing anyway. In fact, yesterday I was celebrating what I considered a historic moment in the ex-Muslim movement. I don't know how many of you have had a chance, but the Apostate Prophet has posted the first cartoon series called The Prophet Tales, and it is absolutely hilarious. so funny. And it's all depicting Muhammad in a comic way about facts from the Sahih Hadith and the Quran.
Okay. I
We
didn't
have
know. Thank you
come,
for that. We have to share it.
oh yeah, we have to see it. We have come miles. And Jamil, you know what's so amazing? I just clocked it before coming into this meeting. In 24 hours, it has been viewed 50,000 times. In 24 hours. That's, in my view, that's a record. Like if it goes on for another few days, like he's gonna hit 500,000 very easily, because people didn't even know about it, like you are gonna go and watch it and share it. And a posted prophet who has always been critical, as much as they could try to protest. Now, before you even finish spelling his name on YouTube, he comes first. And this is from a page that I don't have a profile on. So this is showing you that how any person trying to look for him would be able to find him. So it's not having the effects they're hoping for. The other thing, what they did with Salman Rushdie, they may have protested, but now go and search for ex-Muslim books. You'll be shocked how many they are. So when I search for the word on Amazon, for left Islam, meaning someone who left Islam, there's 498 books about that. So they were unhappy about one book. There's now 498 books specifically talking about leaving Islam. There's 27 that have the title ex-Muslim. There's 71 about leaving Islam. And there's 38 with the title former Muslim in them. So I'm speaking about nearly 700 books that all speak about leaving Islam. So as much as they have tried, they have failed, because we are in the age of information and it's not going to happen. And what was the end result for Salman Rushdie? He actually got a Sir title from our Queen, from the Queen of England in 2007. So they didn't care how much they protested. He got his Sir, and I was surprised. I didn't realize his full title actually starts with Ahmed.
Sir Ahmed.
His first name
I
is
didn't know
Ahmed.
that.
I didn't know that either. I was laughing today. He kept his first name. He is showing with full determination that he is still Ahmed Salman Rushdie, and he's not going to be bullied about that. And still, and he's got tons of awards, and he travels the world, and he's a visiting professor, and has all these accolades because he stood up. And he was like a leader in this field. So that's the end of my brief talk about blasphemy.
Thank you so much, Hassan. It was amazing. And like summary is, there is no blasphemy what Salman Rushdie wrote. It's not blasphemy. It's a reality. It's a fact from Islamic scriptures and Quran. Actually, pointless reactions from Muslims and pointless absurd killings. Many people dead because of this outrage against Salman Rushdie's book. And the other thing is, like, reactions to Quran burning is pointless too. Muslims have to learn, because in Islam, since Caliph Ottoman, they burning Quran every day, almost every day. Even today, Muslims are burning. And the reactions to pictures of Muhammad also absurd, because there is pictures of Muhammad from golden age, so-called golden age, and then because you know why they haven't painted Muhammad before. This is my theory. Maybe it is funny, but because they were busy with war all the time, not art. Until they took everything and settled it. Then they start painting a little bit, and then start war again. And then they stop painting. This is my theory.
I was watching a Indian newscast all day yesterday, and in several of them, they have repeatedly said that the apology has been ignored, both from the politicians and from the media. The apologies have been ignored. The Islamic response has been, that's a little too little too late. But you don't think that there will be a consequence for India?
There will be, but it'll be short term, like all the other incidents. And I think the timing is probably the best timing for this, because really the world is not in a position. Let's put it this way: where can you get basmati rice? Where can you get your wheat at the moment? There's a struggle around the world. If Arab countries don't want it, African countries want it, Western countries want it, what India's producing is what every country wants at the moment. So it would have been different if it was cars and you have all the manufacturers you can go to. The other scenario is, let's say they're not going to take Indian rice, they're going to take Thai rice or something else. Yeah, the prices of rice is going to go up in Thailand, which means India will benefit as well. I can't see it. We're at the moment where what we're producing is being used almost to 1%. Of there's no surplus with
So,
food.
yes, I understand what you're saying. You said that earlier. So, what we really actually have here is just a humiliation of India.
Yes,
Yes, right. Because
but this is just words.
yeah,
You know,
the killing of expression, the killing of freedom of speech, the killing of ever thinking that you can be reasonable with Islam.
The problem is that, the Muslim identity worldwide is surviving by the offense, right? The currency is in being offended. So if the Islamists, they mobilize and they recruit their people with being offended at, you know anyone who isn't them, really, and they turn it off and on, as we have seen with the drawings, or even this case with India and this woman is really ridiculous, because she just, it's not even blasphemy, it's always within the fact that she is critical. What she said showed that she was critical of what was going on in the debate,
Yeah.
and about Islam. So being offended is really what keeps keeps the Muslim spirit alive, really. And this is
I believe the most dangerous things are, you never know with the outrage of Muslims. Sometimes many things like blasphemy things passes away without any people reacting because they don't know. Sometimes very small things causing a lot of uh, killings, even like we have seen in the last month, one girl in Nigeria stoned and burned to death because of they said she insulted prophet on Facebook. And the other things happened in Pakistan. One insane man burned some Quran pages in mosque, and they burned him. You know, you never know. We have to not forget that do you know which country have the mm, where most Muslims living, in which country?
Indonesia.
I believe India. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, it is Indonesia. India, no, I
It's
think
number 2.
it's
I
Indonesia.
think.
Yeah,
I would
maybe number two
assume
or
it's
number.
Iran because it's so big.
Okay, I don't know, but India is one of the maybe first 3 countries where Muslims living. A lot of Muslims are living. I believe that.
Uh-huh.
But in any case, so it is interesting. But have you noticed this? 22 hours ago on BBC, they're writing Cineworld cancels the Lady of Heaven films screening after protests.
Yeah. Well,
And
I know.
this is
Yeah, I know a
this is
little bit.
this is a movie about the daughter of Prophet Muhammad. I believe some Muslim director made it. And do you know what the Marina writing? 300 million Muslims are living in India, and this is
Well, it's 200 million. I just made a quick check for the 2022-21 census. So they're very close, by the
yes.
way, Jamil. So you were right. It's 231 million is Indonesia, 212 is Pakistan, 200 is India. So they're very close to each other. They're all in the 200 million. So they're nearly first biggest, all of them, each one of them.
Right. Even you see this movie, it is a very good effects. I just saw the trail of the movie, and 120,000 people have signed a petition against this movie, and many people meet up on a cine world, and they have to pull back movie. And what is this movie did? Only some prophet voices. And even they said, or they claim that it is a machine voice. It's not one human did this. And a picture of Muhammad, I believe. I will play this only a second. Just talk. Go ahead. I will just.
Be careful for copyright reasons. But let me just say one thing, though. I read a little bit about it, but here's a story for everyone who's sitting in this room today. You didn't hear about it. I would not hear about it if they didn't go and protest. Now I want to see it, and everyone wants to see it. And on my WhatsApp chat, where I have many friends who since childhood, they're all talking about it. Yet we would have never heard about it if it wasn't for the protest. So what they've done by protesting, they've actually given it free publicity, and we'll find multiple ways of finding it. If it's not in the cinema, there'll be multiple ways to find it. Does anyone know what's about? I'm happy to give you a brief summary.
You can. I don't know. It's nice if you do that.
Okay, so it's meant to be Shia-leaning story about Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet. And this is where the daughter, you see here, it says daughter to the Prophet Muhammad.
I just put this because of exactly this one, like he's Muhammad and the daughter, I believe, because I see he's talking too. I think this scene is the problem for Muslims reacting, and the other thing, Shia Sunni conflict, that they are claiming that it's wrong history.
Well, you know what surprised me is that Iran banned it as well. So I would have thought Iran of all countries would have said, oh, but this is about the Prophet as daughter, because she's revered more by Shia than Sunnis. And they banned it as well because they thought it was a little bit inappropriate to show her and to show her story and stuff like that. So you know what? This is the thing we say. We talk about woke society. Islam is probably one of the biggest woke
this is a good thing to say. Wonderful.
Do we know who is behind the movie?
Yeah, it's a Muslim man, I believe. Name is Muslim. I don't know.
Yeah.
The problem is, like you say, thanks to 120,000 signs on petition, and the Muslims who are reacting this movie, so I get noticed. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Because free publicity.
Yes, I'm sure many Muslims doesn't know that Omar responsible even of killing of Fatima, right? Is it when they come to the door to the home of Ali, right? Ali was inside, and Fatima, and he broke the door. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know the story exactly, but I believe there is something really bad thing happened there, and she was pregnant. Later she died. Some says because of Omar beat her.
Yeah, I mean, within 6 months of Muhammad's death, she died, and there's some dispute about what exactly has happened.
Yeah.
So
and also this dispute goes back to the Shia Sunni, divide, because the Shias say Omar was a bad man, and so on, and the Sunnis do see him as one of the four.
Well, if my memory is not mistaken, it was most Sunnis believe she died of grief because after Muhammad's death, the Prophet. But most Shia believe that she was injured during the raid by Omar, and she lost her child also because of that. It's all a mess, really. See, remember that post I have about if you want to see the real violence of this of Islam, before we blame the CIA and before we blame Mossad and Israel and everything. Go look at the history of Islam. It's always violence, killing each other. The Shia and the Sunnis kill each other all
And
the
you have
time.
wonderful posts, and we have published it many times. The whole
Yeah.
story from the beginning to the end.
To the
How
end.
many caliphs, how many Muslims are killed each other? It is crazy, really.
Yeah. And you can't say this was CIA. You can't say this is Al Qaeda, funded by the Zionists. It's all these bullshit, sorry, my word, all these conspiracy theories. Go look at the history and you find we were even more violent before that. One of the first things I remember, and this again shows my ignorance when I first looked at Islam, is I came across some pages that were saying Islam history is all terrorism. And I remember saying, no, we weren't terrorists. We were always very peaceful. Or, terrorism is only the last 50 years. And because of what's been happening in Palestine, people are getting frustrated. And I didn't know any of this. I didn't know any of this history. And I work in academia. I should know this. Yeah, I didn't. So when I went and investigated this afterwards, I was shocked. Actually, if anything, we've been nicer in the last 50 years than what we usually used to be.
Yeah, like they say often that even they don't know history about intolerance in Islam. Like they say often in this time, like why Muslims doesn't react before, like 100 years before or 200 years before, to things that they do today. But it's wrong. It's a theater scene by, I think it is Voltaire's theater, named Mohammed, in like 300 years ago or 200 years ago, I think. Later one Bernard, I don't remember the name again, I'm not good with that, but they put a scene, theater named Mohammed in Paris in the last days of Ottoman. Even Ottoman Empire was very weak. In this time when they will show this theater, then we have the letter in Turkey. We have the letter, we have the proof what our Ottoman Caliph said to the ambassador of France. He said, if you play this theater, we will fight with you and we will do jihad. We will say to all the Muslims around the world and do jihad against you. And they had to censor it and they had to pull out. Don't play it.
I see.
This is all the time when they have even not so much power. Ottoman was very weak in this time. So jihad existed since Muhammad, and this ISIS and Al Qaeda is not like a little picture of what happened before. And like Mehran Arya writing, if Al Qaeda or ISIS etc. are not represent Islam, why Muslims had never protested against them? This is a really big question. If they are very busy with blasphemy or wrong showing of the history of Muhammad or Islam, like they get upset when one Indian woman says something, why they are not reacting and doing outrage against when ISIS or Al Qaeda doing horrible things in the name of Islam and showing even verses and hadiths
yes. Well, I mean, the one protest I would say was online mostly. There was some protests, and there were wrong protests because look, in the West they didn't show us everything. In the Middle East they shared everything and they showed everything because they don't have the same censorship they do in the West. So when when ISIS was selling women in the market and girls, this was actually shown on TV in the Middle East, and on WhatsApp and social media, people were sharing videos of the girls being sold for sex. And in one incident, there was all these group of fighters in one room, and you could hear the girl in the other room being raped. And this was shared. But the protest was, oh, this is against Islam. Oh, Islam never treats women this way. And it was, again, ignorance. Actually, this is from the Quran. This is the Milk al-Yamin. This is Ma Malakat Imanukum. This is what Muhammad did when they took these as war bounty. So there was some, But unfortunately, it was the wrong one. They were actually saying this is not Islam when it
and
actually.
also there was a couple of protests, both in Muslim countries and outside of Muslim countries, but it was Shia protesting Sunnis,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
it wasn't about not liking jihad and not liking Islamists and so on. It was about hating Sunnis. So and they were in the middle of a Sunni Shia war and still are. So that's not, that is also one of the things that Westerners do not understand, that Shia can protest Sunni and Sunni can protest Shia, but it's not because they're against Islamism
Yes,
or
and you
or
know, some
the
years ago, one girl with hijab arranged a demonstration in Oslo against ISIS with full covered hijab, and the media and the readers by it. They haven't even asked her, but are you Shia? Shia girl say no to ISIS, but she loves Khomeini in the same time. And she gets 100,000 euro, like they gave
Really?
her like price. Yes, 1 million kron. She get like because of
No.
she's so courageous.
You're lying.
She have
No, not like.
No.
Do you know Fatun in Iraq? Do you know Fat? I'm talking about Fatun.
Yeah, I actually I met her, and I wrote about her because at the moment when I met her, she was rejected entrance into all mosques. She wasn't
and she's
getting any
anti-Semite.
support
A lot
from
of
the
tweets.
Muslims
Yes.
that she expected she was going to get because well, she was the kind of person who just sort of made an imaginary Islam for herself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Islam 2.0.
Yes.
Yeah, and nobody.
But we need
nobody
it.
asked
If
that.
they're just able to change, the theology, we need it. Just change the theology. Do whatever you want. Make it more. Make it non-violent. Make it.
Jaleh, it
Yeah, I
doesn't
mean,
work. I don't believe it works. They
But I
they
mean,
have in their head
I
zero
don't.
Islam
I don't
2.0,
believe
but
it's going to work either. But
yeah.
I mean, if there's somebody who has, who wants to change Islam, go ahead, write another book. Even the Quran says the perfect book
no,
has not been written. It's coming.
They are really wasting
no, but
time. They are wasting.
I must just Fatin did kind of do this thing where she wanted the ISIS and the Taliban and them to be declared as non-Muslims because of the way they were behaving, and the responses were that they weren't exactly in conflict with Islam.
Yep.
ISIS was
You
not
know,
in conflict with Islam at any point.
Yeah.
So
Both of you, both Ninrok and Jaleh, if you take a hijab and go on the street and make a demonstration and
We
say
will be rich.
and say ISIS have nothing to do with Islam.
Yeah,
We are
if you wanna
against
be rich.
ISIS.
If you want to be rich, you are against terrorism and you are against racism and you are wearing a hijab and you want to help people and you don't even have to say who
Well,
it is.
I mean, it is a business.
Help
It is a
yourself with
business.
it.
Yeah, it's
It's a business. It is a business. Have any of you heard of a guy by the name of Daniel Hakikachu?
yeah.
I haven't.
Okay.
I
Okay,
can.
well,
Yeah,
well, let me just say why I say it's a business. So every time I see him, he looks more and more like Taliban. Even he dresses like Taliban. He has the sign of Taliban. He defends child marriage. He defends Milk al-Yamin. He defends conquering other nations. He's American
And he
born.
lived,
conquered.
and
He's
Iranian or American,
Iranian.
yeah, and everything, and yet he says he's against Taliban. So, and he's making tons of money out of it by being on YouTube. You see what I mean?
He says he's against Taliban.
Yeah, he in the most recent video, he said they asked him, "Why don't you go to live in Sharia?" He said, "No, not against Taliban. Sorry, my mistake." He said he doesn't think they're implementing the correct Sharia yet.
No one is. It's like the communists.
Yeah,
No one is implementing the right way yet. All of these, and they're.
Yeah, Fatin would say, I mean, I don't know if it's true, but she would say that she is not welcome in mosques, so she would go to churches and the synagogues to pray to Allah. And he
Yeah.
could find Allah in the Bible, and she could find him, like,
You know,
And nobody asked her any critical questions. I mean, I myself, I thought she was a good person and that maybe she needed support. I actually wrote an article about it. So it turns out later, it just people just want to be entertained, and people just want to have comfortable lies. Don't have the guts to ask the real tough questions.
you know,
Well,
do you know, now maybe I will be the one Islamophobe look like, but you know, before I was thinking that the biggest problem in Islam, the number one is ignorance. But today I believe that the biggest problem, the number one, is hypocrisy and mental issues. Really.
Well, well, see, I wish I would agree with you. I actually do think 99% of Muslims are better than Islam because they don't
Of
follow
course.
Islam to the word,
Of
and
course.
Yes,
because
I
they
agree.
don't know Islam. They don't know Islam. And I mean, we were all here. We were all sitting here. We were all grew up in Muslim families, and we didn't know all the stuff that we discovered afterwards. And this is a sample sitting here. And I hear
But
you
Hassan,
getting
look
a
at those
shame.
people who claim they know Islam. Look at them.
But
Then
also
you
Yeah,
see
one
hypocrisy.
that's the
Nothing.
1%.
but
That's the
what,
1%.
when you look also at what what makes Iranians succeed, right, in the West, for instance, or even as a country, as a nation, as a culture within Iran. Everything that came before Islam is what is carrying the nation and what is good in Iran and in our culture. It's the same with Arabs. It's the same with Pakistanis. What Islam has not done anything good for any culture, right? And if Muslims just would ask questions, allow themselves to ask questions about their religion,
Mhm.
Islam would be history as we know it,
Well,
because
yeah, yeah.
Without
I
the
mean,
it
oil,
cannot survive.
yeah, without the Saudi and Gulf oil, there would be no wealthy Muslim country in the world.
yep. Well, I mean, there's two things I'll say here. A very important quote is Islam without lies, it dies.
Yeah.
But also, the point of the money is very important. So, if Saudi didn't have all that money, by the way, we may, and the Gulf countries, we may still have had slavery until today. So one of the things I learned is that when the UN pressed Arab world to stop slavery in the 60s, one of the things that the Saudis did, because they were now getting rich from all the oil, they bought all the slaves and released them so that the slave owners will not be disadvantaged financially. And the Kuwaitis did the same, and the Qataris did this. You know what I mean? So all these countries spent the first amount of their oil money to release the slaves.
But
That
still, to this
actually,
day, they don't have them like slaves in the Islamic sense. But there are
yeah,
slave kind of labor inside Saudi Arabia and
yes,
Qatar and a lot of Arab countries, and in Iran and a lot of Muslim countries. In Pakistan also, you have the caste system from and in India as well. But I mean, so slavery isn't really gone from the Muslim world when you look at it
but
in that sense,
if we
but
had
the Islamic
slavery,
part of it, maybe, yeah.
if we still have slavery in the same concept that I've seen, and there's a documentary anyone would like to search online for, a slavery in Mecca 1963.
I've seen it.
Sometimes it comes out as 1964. I have it on my page on Instagram as well. The link for YouTube to watch it. It's horrifying that they were still selling slaves in Mecca in the 60s. That would have damaged Islam the most, in my view. And I think
They're
it's one of
still,
the reasons.
like in Libya, still are selling African
Yeah,
slaves.
yeah,
So I mean, it's still going on in that part of the world. And
sure.
Muslims are talking about the Westerners being slave owners and colonialism and all of these things, but the Muslim world was did the same, and even worse.
Someone
what
is
about the US
writing
war?
here that terrorism has no religion. You should read the Quran saying such things.
Well, I mean, it's one of these words that they throw around quite a bit. And my view is, if this message of God was meant to be perfect, how did it have that space to allow terrorism? So that's what a person
I
has.
actually also went to the Quran, and I searched the word kill, and I think 60 something words of
Yep.
killing is in the Quran. And then I searched for love, and guess how many? Zero. Zero. I
Yeah.
mean, and
You,
if you want to compare it to Christianity, everything is about love. That's even from from what I see. I see it's even like, oh, turn the other cheek, love, love, love. That's not a good thing either. But if you
Yeah.
understand what I'm
you know,
trying to say.
I want to say something. I was lucky that I have been invited to some schools to talk there about importance of criticism of Islam and generally criticism of religion. And there, when I talk about Muhammad, when he says, "I have been commanded to fight all people until they say there is no God but Allah, it's not enough, and they have to pray like us, and they have to pay fast like Muslims." So they said this is just a hadith, but when you look the Quran, some Muslims say like, if hadith is contradict Quran, they don't accept. But this hadith is not contradicting. This is the same. We have verse that says, fight those people until they say they became Muslim. But then they say the fight meaning is not the killing, but like Hassan know Arabic. Arabic people understand very easy. Cattle is fight to kill, right, Hassan?
Yes. Yes.
It's like this. They do game. Islam is a joke, absolutely a joke, but it is a dangerous joke. Also I have been invited to a meeting just yesterday with like dialogue meeting with Muslims.
Did
There
you just
was
kick me out of the stream, Jamal?
what?
No, you're there. We can see you.
We can see you, just your cam is not on, look like.
Jamal, I
can-
send you a link if
All right.
you can click
I
on
will
it.
just fix
This
this.
is the one. This is a hadith where
Where
Muhammad
did you send, Hassan?
in the private chat. Okay, I'll put it in the
Oh
comments.
yeah, I can. No, I see, right.
Okay, so this what you're saying, it comes directly from the book of mosques and places of prayer, and it's from Sahih Muslim, and it says, "I have been giving superiority." I don't know. Okay, when you share it, I'll read it, which
I share.
really confirms everything we're saying. Okay, so I read it together, and anyone who says, "Oh, there's no terror in Islam," let's read it together. I've been given superiority over the other prophets in 6 respects. I've been given words which are concise by comprehension and meaning. I have been helped by terror.
Error. Yeah.
So to terrorize other people, spoils have been made lawful to me to take. The earth the earth had been made for me clean and a place of worship. I've been sent to all mankind, not only Arabs. And the line of prophets closes with me. So the word terror is there.
Yeah.
And who in the heart of the enemies, they put it in brackets, but that's actually not in the word. That's added by the translators.
Yeah.
Let me. So the Arabic word is used bil rob. Rob means terrifying them.
Right.
So anyone who says, where does terrorism come? There you go. This is
There you go. Yeah.
the hadith.
He almost intellectualized terrorism. How to
Justified
do
it.
terrorism. Yeah, but also like explained it and defined it, right? Because terrorism is about the horror that you will cast into a society. It's not even about the violent act within itself, it's also about scaring everyone. And this is what he's explaining
Yeah.
in the hadith.
And
Yeah.
in this one,
Amazing.
just to clarify, since you are here, and Nirok, is everything's okay with your cam? Okay. Okay. But this one, Hassan, there is the problem. Like some Muslims says that this fight mean is not actual fight. Like it's not killing. I have been commanded to fight the people until they testify to Allah. And when you look to the Arabic, since you are here, just to help me with.
Yeah.
Wait, I can put it. What you understand when you read this?
Hold on.
Wait. Oh, wait.
Okay, so it says, "Umirtu an aqtul an-nas." Aqtul, kill.
Yes.
It's not
Right?
fight. I've been ordered to kill. So it is aqtul.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who says also this is just hadith, come on, this is not from the Quran. You go to Quran.
The Quran you cannot understand without the hadith. This is also a,
Yeah. No, but even in the Quran,
misunderstanding.
it's there. It's Quran chapter 929. It speaks very specifically about fight those who believe not in Allah nor the last day, nor hold forbidden in Sami, and it goes on to say about
And this verse is
jizya.
actually they refer even this verse in one hadith. They say this hadith telling about exactly this
that
verse. You are
verse.
saying
Yes. And in that one is the one that says, except the people of the book until they pay the jizya, which
And
is the Arabic
humiliation.
word for
Humiliation.
penalty. I mean, jizya. If I get a car penalty, that's called jizya in Arabic. In Samin, I have a penalty. So anyway, people say, "Oh, this is just a tax or protection." No, it's actually a penalty.
And
And they have
also,
to
it's
pay
you're
to subdue
supposed to. You're supposed to, within an Islamic country, you're supposed to ridicule the ones who are paying jizya. You're supposed
subdued.
to also ridicule them, make fun of them, bully them, and so on. It's a good thing to do, because then you kind of force them into becoming Muslims, and that's a good thing, of course. So you're doing it for them to be equal.
Okay, and I think soon we are finished. It was very nice conversation, and I love it. We can have last words, and maybe I can go a little bit to comments, which I missed.
Yes.
It was very nice, Hassan, and it was very nice introduction. I will edit this and publish this alone too, because many people don't like to watch or hear long videos.
Yes.
I love it. I love, for example, to hear Christian Prince every day.
Yes, me too.
It was a delight, as always. It was a delight to be here and share my thoughts and hear yours. And we always learn something from each other.
Yeah,
This is the beauty of this interaction.
Yes, and there
and we
Nirok
have
is back.
Nirok back.
Nirok, you have to open your microphone. You are muted. And just lastly, I want to say, of course, Christian Prince is reading like theater, like very good. About the Al Burak, the mule, the flying donkey. I had this one, but it is a very long hadith. There is writing that it is so funny, then you see in 7th century when people sit in the desert and telling stories, like every time the same. Muhammad goes to the first heaven, and Gabriel is knocking the door, the gate of the heaven, first heaven, and the angels, the guards behind says, "Who is he?" He says, "This is Gabriel, Jibril." "And who is with you?" "Muhammad." "Is he allowed to be with you?" "Yes." "Okay, come in." Like this, going to the second heaven, the same. Like no angels knows there is a Gabriel. He's the commander of the all angels. He's on the door, and you have to ask him,
Yeah.
has Muhammad permitted to come in, or who are you?
I mean,
You know,
it's what you get in the Middle East. When you go to finish some papers and you have to ask permissions. And it's a joke. It is absolutely a joke. But this is why I'm asking. I recommend everyone to go and watch the video that's been created by Apostle Prophet.
I
Because he
share it
is,
on the comment section.
yeah,
And I will publish.
this is exactly the style that he's going to mock all these things that we don't talk about that are coming directly from the hadith and authentic hadith. Yeah.
And I believe as much as Muslims learn their books and their religion, I believe in the end they have two choices, maybe three. Either they will left Islam when they see the truth about their religion, or they will be very radical. They will be minority, I believe, because I believe
Yeah.
common sense. They will be like ISIS, Taliban. And third option is continue to be hypocrite, maybe to earn some money or get some fame. I don't know what, but
Or
to
just
choose.
desperation. Honestly, I do believe
Yes,
some people are just desperate to believe in something. They really, really need to believe in something. They can't sleep at night without feeling there's a continuation to their life and to their way of thinking, and
yeah,
the versions in heaven or their families, or there's desperation. Then that's why it's better to people realize it's made up early than later in their life, where they have nothing else. They've invested all their life in this faith and they can't leave it anymore.
yeah, right. And I believe still that second and third option will be the minority because common sense and people. I believe in humanity, and
Yes.
so as much as like apostate prophet, you, we, everyone, we ex-Muslims especially, and other people too, non-Muslims too, contributing to enlightenment in Islam. I'm calling like enlightenment age or information age. We are much we are more luckier than the Christians. They had no internet, they had no TV, they had no library like Wikipedia, like nothing, and they manage it, and uh, and they get freedom from religion.
True.
And still
True.
there are people believing Christianity, and it's okay, but they have
Yeah.
no power over people, and this what should happen in Islam. I hope soon.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I hope.
And you
Thank
can also last words, please, before Jaleh and Ninrok.
Oh, sorry.
Ninrok, you are muted.
Yes. Oh, I'm muted. Sorry.
Can
Can
you
you
please
hear me?
talk?
Can you
Just
hear
a
me?
second. Ninrok, can you talk? Ninrok, you are muted. It's not
I
Yeah, we
have
mine.
can't
not
hear you.
muted.
Okay, you can continue, Jaleh. Ninrok, you have to check your mic, please.
Oh, you could hear me all the time?
I can hear you, but not
Yeah,
Ninrok.
yeah.
Okay, okay. Sorry, because I haven't muted myself. But you mean but thank you so much. Thank you so much, all of you. And I think it's so nice conversations that we're having. We should keep on having them. And thank you for your all and your time.
Ninrok, are you there? Yes, you come now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Yes. I am constantly pessimistic when it comes to Islamic power spreading across the globe. I don't feel confident at all. I mean, it helps with watching videos Ridwan makes and talking to you guys. It really helps. But most of the time, like what's going on in India, it really gets to me, especially when it's happening in India, because it's a little bit close to my soul. It's a little bit close to home in the way of the nostalgia. But right now in Norway, in the Western countries in general, we don't have freedom of speech. And well, we saw what happened to our last video. It wasn't even broadcasted on Facebook because we're not allowed to actually share our opinions. We can only hope that people who are seeking the truth will find us, and we can help with enlightenment. But most of the time, I don't think I would find any hope if I wasn't in this company. So I'm very grateful for this company.
you meet our
then
us
then
too.
let us do more programs and give you more
Yeah, we do
optimism.
More
really need
joy.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a pleasure.
Yes.
And Hassan, you can end the program today, please.
No, 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 no. It's first of all, thank you so much for setting up the channels, for setting up the page. I'm sure you can see how you are enlightening many people. I keep track of your numbers all the time, and interactions, and your openness and willingness to let everyone express their views, even though sometimes I think some people are spamming your page. You're letting them
I know.
vent their anger. This is democracy that I love, and thank you so much. And it was an absolute pleasure to be in your company.
Thank you and goodbye and see you soon, all of you. Okay, and
You
and we have to do some live sendings in Bornholm in Denmark with Jaleh, and I have to
Of
interview some
course, for
people there.
sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would
Okay,
be great.
thank you so much, everybody,
Bye,
and see you
everyone.
on the next
Bye-bye.
program. Bye bye.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.